To start off, let's set the scene here. L from Death Note is a renowned detective known for his exceptional deductive skills and unorthodox methods. He's not afraid to break the law at times. He does what he believes is fair and right, and what he thinks it takes to win. He won't kill Walt, he won't do anything like that. His only way of a win, and that's what we're going to look at this, is getting him arrested with concrete proof. People would say he's a genius, of course he is. People would say he's smarter than Walt in quotation marks, but that's not all that plays into this. There's a lot of other factors that you have to look at here. On the other hand, Walter is a high school chemistry teacher turned meth kingpin. He's always one step ahead of the authorities, including Hank, who is the person who tries to prosecute him in the story, like L was the person who tried to prosecute like Yagami. He's always one step ahead of them. He's so unpredictable. He can do idiotic things at times out of rage, but most times he's always planning one step ahead. Let's see if he can do that for L. So to get an idea of how they would attack each other and how one would try to either succeed in what they're trying to do, or one would catch the other, they haven't taken IQ tests for us to just look at. So I'm going to look at their abilities and how they solve crimes, or how they commit their crimes and attack the person that's trying to catch them. So L, let's start off with him first. He's highly analytical. He's able to quickly connect unrelated pieces of information. He does that constantly with like Yagami. He's just somehow always, he can take nothing and turn it into something, and something that like a normal human like you and I would not even be able to put together. He's just instantly, it wasn't even a thought. He's relentless in pursuing whoever he's trying to get. He will break the law. Sometimes he'll bend it, but he's fair. He won't do anything that's like murder. He won't try to kill. He won't kill Walter. He won't do anything like that. Just like Yagami, his only way of a W would be to catch him fair and square, concrete evidence. He would definitely not take it easy on Walt. Hank didn't even take it easy on Walt, and he was his brother-in-law. He wouldn't need to narrow down an area to search for him, like how he did with like Yagami, how he had to play the secret video in the region of Japan that like Yagami was in. It's just in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a drug trade. You know where it is. He would be able to approach it head on as well. He wouldn't be like Hank, always worrying about other things. He would just be able to focus straight on this case, and that gives him a great advantage here. Now, with that being said, let's take a dive into Walter now. Walter, on the other hand, is a master manipulator. He's able to stay ahead of the law, like I said multiple times previously. There is cunning and resourcefulness. He has a vast knowledge of chemistry. He uses it to perfect his meth production. He is also a highly skilled liar, and he's able to keep his criminal activities, such as murder, producing mass amounts of meth, to smuggling methamphetamine, from anything you could think of, from his whole family and everyone around him. The person that's trying to prosecute him and that ends up doing it is his brother-in-law, Hank. In Death Note, when L was chasing Light, he knew it all along, he just couldn't prove it. Hank was completely oblivious to this fact. If L was close to Walt like that, there would be no doubt in my mind that L would catch him immediately. But of course, that's not how it's going to happen here, because Walt's just not going to have some random guy that looks like a meth addict himself around him the whole time. He wouldn't just be able to snoop into Walt's bathroom and find a book that has initials in it and writing from Gal Bedecker in it that could tip it into his way that would make him realize that Walt is in fact Heisenberg. He would have to do this completely on his own and just on the side of everything, and just observe anything he can and try to put the pieces together, which he is great at, but there could be some difficulties. So who would come out on top in the battle of wits between L and Walter? It's difficult to say for sure, but there are a few factors to consider that I haven't mentioned previously. L is definitely more experienced in dealing with criminals and known for his unorthodox methods, but Walter, he has a much deeper understanding of the chemistry, and he's just great at improvising, quite frankly. He hasn't dealt with the criminal life before, as L has. He knows what the criminals are like. He's dealt with multiple cases of every type you could think of. Walt, he's new to this, and this is going to be starting from when he's a newbie, just getting crazy eights in his basement, and that's basically when it starts. Well, not exactly. It's probably going to be more about the Tuco situation, because that's when the name Heisenberg really started to go across the streets. So at that point, Walt is a little bit more experienced, but just not on the same level as some of the people that L has went against before. I think this could go two ways. I think the first way is L just immediately catches Heisenberg within the first month of him doing these actions. I know that's kind of boring and people wouldn't be expecting that, but L, he's another world of detective. He's just on a different level of smartness. I know I said that in quotation marks, but he's just something else compared to normal people, like how Walt would be. I know Walt isn't just a normal person, but he's just not on the same level of deductive skills as L and Light Yagami were in the anime Death Note. L is not going to be like Hank. He's not going to have his plate full with his wife blabbering all the time. He's not going to have to deal with other things. He's not going to have to deal with having to go across the border to Mexico and have to deal with other things involving the cartel. He's going to be head on, straight focus on Heisenberg. That's how he takes his cases. So if we're going to assume that L's in this world and he's trying to solve Heisenberg, he's going to be 100% focused on Heisenberg. He's not going to be doing anything else with his time besides eating sugar cubes and then focus on Heisenberg. So that's how I think the first situation can go out. That's definitely not in Walt's favor. It's just that would be considering that L's IQ, if you think it's completely otherworldly and you think it's just not even on the same level as anyone in Breaking Bad, then yeah, I think he just completely figures it out in a month or so. And then the second way I think I could see this going is completely different, but it goes out guns blazing, really. And when I say guns blazing, I don't mean Elle and Walter White are going to be having a shootout. I mean something more similar to how the actual show ended in Breaking Bad, but a lot earlier. I would say when they got on to Gus Fring and his thing with the chicken place, I just think if Elle really looked into that place, he would figure out something about Gus. He's too perfect. And I know that Gus is like a mastermind as well as covering himself up, but to be honest, Walter is kind of better when he's not enraged. And I think Gus just has some tracks that aren't covered up, and Elle would just be able to figure it out. And once Walt knows that Gus is figured out, he would probably think that he's coming up next. So I could see something like the end of how Breaking Bad happened. I could see Elle coming up, trying to arrest him. And just as Death Note ended as well, Elle was this close to catching Light. He was so close. He was just there. He just figured it out 100%. And then right when that happens is when he dies. I think I could see that happening with this too. Because Elle, he's not focused on catching Gus. That's not a W. I know he would have the proof, but Light had the proof too. He just hadn't done it yet. He had just realized it and then he died. So I could see this going a very similar way. I think just like how Light died shortly after, I think the same thing would happen to Walt. But it would be a lot shorter than how it happened to Light. I mean, Light didn't kill Elle in a shootout. He just killed him with a Death Note. But if Walter did kill him in this shootout way, like how he killed Jack's uncles and everyone like that, which is how I would see it happening, then I think Walt would just immediately get probably killed by the police or just taken into custody for that then. Which is definitely a way I think the future Walt would want this to go. Think about this. At this point, Walter has a lot more money than after Jack's uncle stole all his money from him. Hey, cut right here. This is future me editing this. I meant to say Todd's uncle, who is named Jack, by the way. He's in a lot better standing with his family. His family would probably be better off take the money as Skylar was still in on it and was still not loving Walt again yet, but was still on his side again with the business and making the money at this point where Gus is just getting figured out. So I would say this would probably be a better ending for Walt than the original, as his family doesn't hate him yet. His family would probably still take the money. He has more money, and it's the same fate as what happens in the original. So this would probably be a massive W for Walt if he could look at it in hindsight and not from the grave. But in conclusion, it's likely that this outcome would just come down to their tactics, their strategy, how each one handles it. I know Elle has the experience and the analytical skills to catch a criminal. Walt does have the cunningness, the resourcefulness, and he's just so unpredictable that you really don't know how this could go, really, how he would respond to each different person that's trying to catch him. But yeah, thanks for watching this video on if Elle from Death Note could catch Walter White. What do you think would happen, and who do you think would come out on top? Do you think Elle would get his fair, nice W? Do you think Elle would just be no match for Heisenberg, and he would just somehow continue to do this until the sun set, and he would have a happy, happy life? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace out.